There are five common propositions that are the results of five common connectives. The conjunction in symbol like this, then the disjunction, the implication slash condition, the equivalence or biconditional, and the negation. Later on, we will be discussing the other four. So first, let's start with conjunction. So the truth table is a table that the describe the conditions in which the proposition is true or false. The columns represent the propositions consisting the compound propositions, with the last column presenting the whole statement. The rows present the possible combinations for truthfulness and falsity of each propositions. So here, let's start. If we have a compound proposition P, which is proven to be true, and a compound proposition Q, another one, which is also true. What is P and Q? So it is true. True and true is true. Statements that are conjunction or conjunctive, if that's the word, are both true, then the result combining the propositions are also true. So what if the first proposition, compound proposition is true and the second one is false? What is true and false? The answer is false. If if the first co- if the first proposition is false and the second one is true, the combined is also false. If they are both false, then the combined propositions are false. So we have this truth table for conjunction. So notice that the rows are combinations, and this column is the result of the combination. So true, the truth combined with truth is always true, but the truth combined with false is always false, and the false combined with false is also false. That's how that's the rule for the conjunction or the word and. Disjunction is a proposition which is the result of combining two other propositions called disjuncts with the connectives word or. So true P or Q, true or true, the result is true. And for the second combination, the first proposition true or combined with the second proposition which is false, the answer is true. For this combination, false and true, the answer is true. And for false and false, false or false, we have false. So notice that any combination that consists a, a true in truth value, the corresponding result in the combination with the disjunction or is also true, except when there's the both are false, then the result is also false for the disjunction. The implication slash conditional. This proposition, which is also called the conditional proposition, is a proposition which is a result of combining a hypothesis or a transcendent to a conclusion or consequent in the form if then implies. So the symbol for this is an arrow towards the right side. So we have P implies Q. True, truth implies truth is always true. True implies false is false. False implies true is true. And false implies false is true. So take note of this truth table. If you encounter conditionals with these combinations, the result you learned from here is always useful. Okay? Note that the implication is true in all cases, except when the antecedent is true and the consequent is false. So this is what I mean. So it's only false if the antecedent is true. This is the antecedent. The first one is the antecedent. The first proposition is called the antecedent. And the second one is called the consequent. It is only false if the consequent is false. The fourth connective is the equivalence, or also known as the biconditional proposition. Its connective is commonly known as if and only if. It is symbol of two arrows facing towards both sides, left and right. So this proposition, which is also called biconditional proposition, is a proposition which is a result of combining two propositions in the form if and only if. So P, if and only if Q. So true, if and only if true is true. And true, if and only if false is false. And false, if and only if true is false. And false, if and only if false is true. The equivalence is true if both propositions are true or both are false. So note that the equivalence is true if both propositions are true or false, or both are, or both are false. So the fifth connective is the negation. Negation is a proposition which is a result of reversing the truth value of a given proposition. So P and not P, it's only the opposite of the truth value, which is true here and then it became false. It became false. Then false became true with this sign. Simply the opposite or reversing the truth value of a given proposition. If a proposition is true, its negation is false. If a proposition is false, its negation is true. Still in line with the connectives, I would like to add the three conditionals: the converse, the inverse, and the contrapositive. So the conditional or the conditional proposition is denoted by this symbol. So if we have P implies Q, the three conditionals for this would be the converse of P is to Q is the reverse of position. Q is to P. Q is to P. Next is the inverse. It is simply the negation of both propositions, which is not P is to not Q. Next is the contrapositive, which is both the inverse of the position and inverse of and the negation of the value. Contrapositive of P implies Q. We have not Q implies to not P. So read your modules. You can find a bunch of examples here and using the sentences, not the symbols. P and Q will be real sentences, real compound propositions that involves symbols. So please do check your modules and answer the exercises